everyone, and welcome to the show. I hope you all are having a wonderful new year as it is. Well, it's not the new year as I'm recording this, but it will be when you get it. So, happy new year. And I hope that 2022 is significantly better than 2020 or 2021. With that being said, as we're moving forward into this new year, I wanted to bring a little something from my Reiki studio into the podcast because I recognize that oftentimes there's a little bit of a disconnect between what I do in studio and what's happening on the show here. So for this new year, I've decided to try out doing a monthly channeled Reiki message. A lot of times in the studio, I do channeled Reiki messages for people when they come in to see me one on one for Reiki. A lot of that energy shakes out in messages from guides and passed on loved ones and things like that. And so I wanted to bring that to the show in the form of monthly messages. So this is the first of many, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how you like it. But happy January, happy New Year. Let's get started. So the first thing that's coming up about January 2022 is firstly this idea of abundance. And how we often misconstrue what abundance is, what it means to be abundant, what it means to um, actively and actually be abundance. As far as Reiki is concerned, Reiki is abundance. It's an ever present energy that any of us can tap into at any point in time. And there's something about really focusing on the abundance that we have in our lives. As in the hemisphere that I'm in, everything is cooling down, it's getting colder. I'm in Portland, it's very cold. It's not just colder, it's super cold right now. And the seeds of life are being frozen over, and we're like hoping that things pull through after this winter. And that's kind of what the past 2 years have felt like. And I think that's a little bit of what's going to be different coming into this new month of January is that firstly, some things that were on hold are going to be able to move forward. And it moves forward not just because it's 2022 and it's a new year and all of those things, but because it's time. We've been like uncovering things and digging things up. Things have been coming to the surface these past couple of years. How people react to stressful situations. If you don't know now, you might never know how someone is going to react to a stressful situation, okay? Like, if these past 2 years haven't taught us anything, it's who people are, okay, when things aren't going their way. But circling back to that abundance is not in your bank account. We get so focused on this idea that I'll be abundant when I have X amount of dollars and I own a home and I have this particular car and I can, we get caught up in this materialistic idea of abundance. And that's being called out right now for a lot of us, right? Because there's an abundance of love in some people's lives right now. And we're taking that for granted. And I don't just mean love and romantic partnerships, because again, oftentimes it's like love gets peg-holed into only being about romance. That's not the only way that love offers itself to us. That's not the only way. There's so many ways to experience love. There's so many ways to experience abundance. So, for instance, if you're a person who has never had to use a wheelchair, a walker, a cane to get around, you have a form of abundance. You have the ability to walk down the street and not think about, is there a wheelchair accessible sidewalk? Is there a divot in the sidewalk that is not covered by stupid scooters in the middle of the road because we thought that was a good idea for some reason, right? There's things you don't have to think about when you have a certain amount of abundance. Some of you, not all of you, right? But some of you always have food. Every single day, you don't have to think about, are you going to eat? That is abundance. In recognizing that abundance, if you're listening to this, each and every one of you woke up and breathed in air. Okay, you inhaled, you exhaled. That's a form of abundance. Another day on earth, being here, living. There are so many people who wanted that opportunity to wake up that didn't. And especially now, during these times where millions of people are dying of a virus, right? Millions of people. And you woke up another day. I'm not saying that everything is perfect because it isn't. It never is, right? Things aren't always perfect. We can't control a lot of things in our lives. We can't really control that we woke up another day for the most part. So, recognizing the pieces of abundance that you have in your life right now, it can be as simple as having a person in your life that is there supporting you, whether that's emotionally, whether that's physically, materially, whatever that is. Spend some time in deep gratitude to the people and the things that are abundantly available. I have so much abundance in my life. And one of the things that I think about is that during COVID, people decided that maybe they shouldn't go out to the coffee shop every day because you could get COVID at the coffee shop, right? Like human interaction, all of that. And people started buying milk steamers for their homes and making lattes at their houses. That's fantastic. That's a great form of abundance. That's something that's deeply caretaking. And if you know anything about me, you know I love my tea lattes. Um, and so finding those things that mean something to you, if you're a parent, seeing your child be happy and healthy and alive and well in the world when so many people don't have that opportunity, that is a form of abundance. So, January is about recognizing what it means to be abundant, fully abundant, abundant in friendships, abundant in love, in commitment, in family, in food, in fresh air. Living in Portland, We have an abundance of fresh air here. People comment about how clean the air is. Truly, truly, if you've never been here, people comment about how clean the air is when they come here and visit. They're like, wow, the air is amazing. So I get to step outside my door and be in some of the cleanest air I've ever experienced thus far in my life living here. And if you haven't today, if you haven't yet, take a moment to recognize at least one thing in your life that you have in abundance and be grateful. Give it gratitude. Be thankful because there's someone somewhere that wishes they could have the very thing that you take for granted. We've, we're all going through it right now. We really are. And so taking this moment to truly tap in and say, you know what? I've never been houseless. I've always had a home. I've always had a roof. Maybe it was a room in college, or if you didn't go to college, didn't really matter. Maybe it was just a bedroom. Maybe a friend let me surf on their couch. Whatever form that is, maybe you're abundant in having a place to live because so many people don't, right? I'm abundant because I've never had to sleep on the streets. That's amazing. I should count my blessings. You know, we're a society that if someone loses their job, shit can go sideways real fast, right? And we have to take this moment and this time to recognize what we do have rather than what we don't have. I'm going to say another thing about this year in January in particular, in the energy that's coming up is it it's not necessarily a time to make all these big plans. Everyone wants to do New Year's resolutions. Everyone wants to make these plans, these grand gestures, all these things, and to change their life. New year, new me. Don't do it. That's why, don't do it. Just don't. It's not that kind of year. It's not that kind of month. Things will happen for you. Things are going to feel like they're moving. You're not going to feel as stuck come January. However, it's not the time to put all this pressure on yourself to rehaul your entire life because you were on the couch too long in 2021. Listen, it's been 2 years of a damn virus that is killing random people. Like, let's be real. It's not the time for grand movements and to do 50 million challenges on January 1st and join the gym and never go. Um, that's a joke to myself that I don't do New Year's resolutions. But honestly, be honest with yourself. Like, instead of trying to take on something new, it's tempting. See if you can reflect on the things that are happening in your life right now. And along with that gratitude that you're having for the abundance in your life, see if you can recognize the things in your life that maybe aren't as you would want them to be and start to open up to the idea that it didn't start with you. Some of these things are patterns. Okay, so January energy, good time to recognize patterns. I believe there's a Venus retrograde going on out there. So if y'all got friends and family and lovers that you haven't spoken to in a while and they cycle back around. Okay, recognize whether or not you are being caught up in a pattern, whether you want to be in that pattern, and start asking yourself some real good questions about, why does this particular pattern come to me and what can I do to support myself in moving through this and not doing this again? Because there's some cycles that you're just done with now. And that's kind of a part of this new year, letting things go rather than trying to add things on. Oftentimes, people try to do this rehaul. I'm going to rehaul myself and I'm going to be a better person and change my life and change my world. And it's going to happen overnight and all this stuff. But really, you're taking these micro steps, this step by step of like looking at yourself and looking at the patterns you have and then asking where those came from. In what moment, in what moment did I feel hurt or harmed? And I formed a belief around that hurt or harm that created this pattern. And now this pattern is trying to show me this moment of that hurt or harm that I didn't feel and that I don't want to think about. But all these patterns, all these relationships are bringing this thing up to me so that I can see it, so I can feel it, so I can heal it. This is an excellent month for recognizing patterns and healing patterns, for diving deep in to some of our old pain and transforming it into something else. This is also a great time to take stock of your material possessions and get rid of some things. Okay. Now, I actually do a purge of material items almost every month. I'm not sure how it's happening, but like, how do I still have things? What I've come to realize is I'm like fairly minimalistic person that doesn't like to have a lot of things everywhere. Clutter, because I think things clutter spaces up. And if I'm not using it, it means it can go to someone else who would get so much joy out of it if I just give it away. So get your things together, gather some things that you haven't used, you haven't worn, you haven't seen in 5 years because it's been in this box here, but you're going to use it one day. No, this is an excellent month to get rid of some things that you don't need, you don't want, you don't use. Okay. And I say that because a lot of times these things that we hold this energy and it makes our homes and our environments feel heavy because it's stagnant energy. If you have a buy nothing group, buy nothing is a group where you can exchange items that you don't use with your neighbors. So you can just put it on buy nothing. It's on Facebook. They might have an app. I'm not sure about that, but just look it up, buy nothing in your city. And you can post that stuff and people will come and pick it up for free. It's all free. You can post things, people post things all the time. And that's a great way, one, to be a part of your community, because being a part of your community is very important, especially this month and this year. Some things with community are going to come forward where people are going to be active members of their community because we're going to need our communities coming up here. But also passing those things on to your own community and not having it go through Goodwill. Nothing wrong with Goodwill, nothing wrong with secondhand stores, nothing wrong with Salvation Army. I take that back. It's Salvation Army. If you don't know, they discriminate and I don't really care for them. So I don't shop with them. But being able to pass it on, Goodwill is not necessarily a nonprofit anymore. So they're making profit off of items that are donated to them and they don't give anything away. They don't give any items away for free. And for me, when you receive everything for free and then you sell it and now you're trying to like mark it up and do all this stuff, it doesn't quite sit right. So passing things on to your community, making sure people in your neighborhood have access to those things, and people you don't know getting joy from the things that you don't use, and it's right there in your own community, in your own neighborhood. So that message came out of fostering community, seems to be very resonant. Because we're going to have to start relying on our networks, the people that we pass every day. And there's been this disintegration of community, especially in a lot of places in the US where people don't know their neighbor. They've never talked to their neighbor. They don't know the person that lives two houses down. They've never even seen them potentially. And that's going to start to change because we're going to begin to need our communities. I think last but definitely not least is finding time for yourself and finding time for silence, quiet, a moment where there's no phone, there's no TV, there's no podcast, nothing is on, electronics are put aside, even if it's 7 minutes. I don't know why I said 7 minutes. It's more than five, it's less than 10, 7. Even if it's 7 minutes to sit and do nothing and be in some still quietness. That's going to be important moving forward to just have that little bit of time for that. If you can have more time, great, wonderful, that's awesome. But many of us have been drawn into our technology, our phones, that digital world without really connecting with other people. We're drawn into the digital world, but we're not connecting on any level with other human beings in that digital world. We're just scrolling and looking at the next person that got married or bought a house that's better than ours or bigger than ours, the one we really wanted. And we're not really connecting with the community that we're part of. Or we're watching people that we don't even know anymore. Maybe we met them 10 years ago and they're still our Facebook friend or our Instagram friend. And we're watching their life unfold, but we have never sent a private message to that person and say, hey, how are you? Like, I remember that time we met in San Francisco and it was so cool. We should, meet up again. Or like there's all these events online where you can do an event online or video chat or Skype. We're not doing that with our online networks. Online is turned into another distraction from what's going on inside here. TV, online, Netflix, all of that. So if you can take 7 minutes every day to put all that stuff away and just be, that is going to set you up more than any New Year's resolution could do. So that is all I have for the January channeled Reiki messages. Thank you so much. And I will see you, hear you next week. As always, I will leave some links in the description box below if you would like to work with me. I do work with people um, via not Skype, Google, the Googleplex. Um, I do work with people in my studio in Portland with channeled Reiki and all that good stuff. For now, stay tuned, stay safe, and Happy New Year.